1971, Jazz Fest founders George Wein, Quint Davis, and Allison Minor sat down at a bar in uptown New Orleans, waiting to see a Mardi Gras Indian practice, and the song came on the jukebox. "Who's that?" George asked. "Oh, that's a song that just comes on at carnival time," was the answer. "That's somebody who should be at the festival. Go find him," George said. The song was "Go to the Mardi Gras," and the musician was piano player Professor Longhair. He had a career from the late 40s to the mid-60s, and he was well known to New Orleans R&B musicians, but his star had faded in recent years. So Quint and Allison went looking. They had to do a little hunting because Professor Longhair had kept a low profile, to say the least. He wasn't recording at all, he wasn't performing much, he was hiding in plain sight though, working as a janitor at a record store. But eventually they tracked him down and persuaded him to come perform at the second year of the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Festival. He agreed to perform for all 3 days at the Outdoor Heritage Fair. When the Times-Picayune published a preview of Jazz Fest acts that year, it only included the words, "A performance by Professor Longhair, described as a rhythm and blues great." In other words, people really didn't know who he was. And so on April 22nd in 1971, Professor Longhair showed up at Congo Square in a dark short-sleeved shirt with a couple of other musicians, including the guitarist Snooks Eaglin. They performed on a blues stage, which was actually just a small platform, enough room for a piano and a band. Most of the audience had never seen Professor Longhair, and they loved him. The crowd started to gather, drawn away from all the other music going on at the festival. On the second and third days, Fest showed up in a suit, and the crowds kept growing. And he was suddenly a star. Everyone knew his name, his face, and his music. Professor Longhair was reborn. Allison Minor started to manage his career, and he began recording again, performing all over the world. And he kept playing Jazz Fest, becoming one of the most beloved performers there in the 1970s. He played from 1971 to 1979, and was the traditional closer for the final day of the festival. On January 30th, 1980, Fest passed away in his sleep at age 61. Professor Longhair never left Jazz Fest though. He has remained an essential icon of the festival, and his triumphant comeback symbolizes what Jazz Fest is all about. Embracing your heritage and celebrating it, not letting it slip away. His music will last forever as an example of how great New Orleans music can be. And his image still presides over the festival, from his position high atop the Acro stage, smiling down year after year as people gather to celebrate the heritage of our city with all its rhythms, spontaneity, and pure joy in music, just like Fest. For WWOZ, I'm Kyle Roussel.
WWOZ's celebration of Jazz Fest at 50 is made possible by the Goldring Foundation, the Hellas Foundation, the Remedy Room, the Ruth U. Fertel Foundation, the Durbus Foundation, and Goldfarb Financial. Special thanks to the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Foundation. Check out WWOZ.org for more Jazz Fest at 50.